If you can unlock something in the battle pass, we're not going to let any other players circumvent that by purchasing it out of the storefront.
Shh. Don't fucking lie to me.
A lot of our stuff is unlocked through playing the game and only through playing the game.
Liar!
Halo Infinite is finally here, and while it's a great multiplayer experience for the most part, it's also bogged down by one of the greediest, most obnoxious, and piss-poorly designed progression systems I've ever seen. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's your pal Noms here, and today, I finally get to talk about my experience playing Halo Infinite's multiplayer. And I also get to flip 343 Industries the middle finger at their pathetically desperate, game-restrictive, monetized progression and design bullshit. How to best describe Halo Infinite's launch? Well, see, I thought about it, and I think this sums it up pretty well. It's like taking a humongous bite out of a thick, juicy, succulent steak, but then you realize there's barely any of it, and someone added chili without your permission, and now it has this weird aftertaste that ruins the flavor. That's Halo Infinite, or at least its current state at launch, even though it's only partially launched. Now let me make this clear, Halo Infinite fucking rocks as a game. Its gameplay is awesome. I'm sure there are very few who have actually played it who would deny this. Sure, every game has its detractors, but the majority of fans seem to love this game, and it's not hard to see why. The sandbox is extensive, fun, and diverse in its selection. Also, speaking as someone who was clued into some of the campaign leaks, which came out some months ago, apparently what we've seen so far in terms of the weapon selection is only scratching the surface of what's in the final product, but take that with a heavy grain of salt. Regardless, what has been shown has been spectacular, despite the fact that the Pulse Rifle, Commander, Ravager, and Drop Wall need some serious buffs in how effective they are in gunfights. The human banished and forerunner weapons and vehicle selection all blend together to make a truly enthralling multiplayer experience, and the equipment is both fantastic in its selection and how it interacts both with the sandbox itself and the maps as well. And the design choice of having these elements as pickups on the map while heavily toning down excessive player movement abilities, but leaving the simple selection of sprint, clamber, and slide allow for an excellent hybrid of the original Halo games with its modern installments as well, which essentially granted most fans their fondest wish. It was certainly what I was hoping for. And finally, the maps. While I think there's certainly a very questionable selection of maps at launch this time round, I certainly think the selection is dynamic and interesting. Every map feels distinct and unique, something Halo 5 certainly did not have. The arena maps, I'd say, exist somewhere between great and mediocre for the most part. I wouldn't say there's any terrible maps, they're all serviceable at the very least, but there are definitely some standouts, those being Bazaar, which is an excellent callback to New Mombasa from Halo 2 and Halo 3 ODST. There's Livefire, Behemoth, even though Behemoth isn't as spacious as I thought it was going to be from the trailers, it's still my pick for the best arena map in Halo Infinite's multiplayer at launch. And honestly, I really like the map launch site, which is perhaps a little too spacious for a 4v4. A lot of people seem to dislike that map, but near as I can tell, it's the only asymmetrical map in Halo Infinite's arena multiplayer, which personally, I've always been a fan of those kinds of maps in the older games, for example, High Ground from Halo 3. And finally, let's talk about the highlight of Halo Infinite's multiplayer. The big team battle maps are out fucking standing. There's only 3, but goddamn do the level designers and art directors do their jobs. Each map is gorgeous, plays great, has plenty of map elements to choose from. The skyboxes are to die for. And even some have shit going on in the backgrounds. For example, on high power, you can see a UNSC frigate firing Mac rounds at a Covenant cruiser. On Deadlock, since you're fighting under anti-aircraft turrets, ever so often you'll hear the cannons fire off a round and it can be heard throughout the entire map. Damn near makes the map itself shake. And that's another thing, the sound design is possibly some of the best in the entire series. Sure, it doesn't have all the classic sound effects. True, but personally, I like a lot of these new sounds, especially for the banished weapons. They have that spongy, laser-like sound effect that makes you feel like these weapons are firing off hot plasma. Unlike, for instance, the Halo 4 Storm Rifle that sounded like it was firing pellets. All in all, Halo Infinite's multiplayer has had a mostly stable launch, in my experience at least. I've been playing on PC, it's worked fine, very few crashes. Lag has been to a minimum, optimization seems pretty good. There are things that still need to be tweaked in the game itself. Like I said, some weapons seriously need a buff, but the multiplayer has so much to learn, plenty of choice for how you want to fight, and the sandbox, at least what's been shown so far, is vast, providing a different experience every time someone chooses to play, and it allows for endless fun to be had. Right. Now, that's my super condensed summary of Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Now, with all that said, and so many positive elements this game has to offer, why are so many people, myself included, very much pissed off at this game? 3 reasons. Firstly, the lies. Secondly, 343's absolutely disgusting and undeniable greed. And 3, the lack of content and game modes, which is directly tied into 343's absolutely disgusting and undeniable greed. Let me explain. Now, admittedly, this is one of the weirdest video game launches I've ever seen. For as greedy as this company and this game is, ironically enough, it's also the most consumer-friendly in other ways as well. For example, this game sets a number of precedents. When Halo Infinite's campaign releases, it will be the first to do so on the Xbox Game Pass platform. Meaning, for the 20 million plus Game Pass subscribers, they will essentially be playing the game for free, which is excellent. So at least if the campaign turns out to be shit, I wouldn't have paid full price or any price really. And in addition to that, Halo Infinite's multiplayer is also free to play, which also sets another precedent, and this is fantastic on paper. Yes, it's been great to just install the multiplayer and just play it till my heart's content free of charge. For what this game offers in terms of its multiplayer experience, completely free of charge, it's actually quite excellent. However, what isn't excellent, and what honestly is quite shameful, is that this game was in development for 6 whole fucking years. 6 years. And some of the most basic and integral features to the Halo franchise since Halo fucking 3 are missing. From this multiplayer package, things like basic progression, statistics, a kill-death ratio, and a medal library to track your progress and view your multiplayer accomplishments, something so basic is just fucking non-existent. And even though I praised the multiplayer maps earlier for the most part, only 7 of them are arena maps, and 3 of them are big team battle maps. Meaning there's only 10 maps in total, 10 multiplayer maps at launch after 6 years of development. That, in addition to everything else that's missing, is honestly just fucking pathetic. Before I talk about the missing game modes, I want to talk about the agonizing game progression. This is designed to be the most insufferable, tedious fucking grind I've ever seen. This is borderline comparable to EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 at launch. And while Halo Infinite doesn't have any loot boxes or rec packs this time round, thank God, this is about as greedy as it gets without having them. The weird thing about 343 is that they have the brain cells to design such a manipulative and grindy progression system. Despite having designed far more consumer and player-friendly progressions in the past, I'd use Halo 4 as a prime example of that, but Halo 4 had its own set of problems, of course. But the reasoning for this wasn't stupidity on 343's behalf. It was a conscious choice to try and shorthand the player with free content in the game and encourage at every turn the spending on in-game currency and the battle pass itself. But I'll get back to that. What I'm trying to say is 343 weren't stupid putting this system together. It wasn't incompetence. They knew exactly what they were doing. But without a doubt, 343 were dumb as absolute fuck if they thought players were just going to stand for it. And right on cue, they've landed themselves in yet another shitstorm. 6 years of development and they launch with this disgrace. And it's a damn shame because, like I said, they know how to make a good progression system. Halo the Master Chief Collection as of 2021 has a borderline perfect progression. I'm not the biggest fan of the season point unlock system. I think that's incredibly unimaginative, but the sheer progression and ranking system is great. You get points for matches completed, varying amounts depending on how long the game was. Big team battles tend to give you more in this regard. You get XP for performance based on the medals you accrue in the game. You get XP for the team medals you accrue in the game. You get rewarded for teamwork. Team play is encouraged because of this. And lastly, you get XP for weekly and seasonal challenges. Now, Halo Infinite, on the other hand, has this, except minus the performance XP, the teamwork XP, and the military rank system. And basically anything at all that distinguishes the player based on performance and time played in terms of progression. Now, with that said, you might say, oh, but Norms, what about the armor customization that distinguishes the player and shows how much time they've played in Halo Infinite? To which I would say, yeah, absolutely. If it wasn't nullified by two things. Firstly, the Battle Pass, which you have to purchase, of course, in order to get that armor if you happen to unlock it with progression, which I had no problem doing for a free-to-play game, by the way, but I'll get back to the Battle Pass in a second. The second and most important reason why armor customization as a form of distinguishing the player is nullified is because you can also pay to rank up your Battle Pass and unlock the armor you supposedly had to play your ass off to get. And the reason you'd have to play your ass off in the first place to get this armor is because 343 made it so fucking tedious to rank up in the first place. Because the only way you can do so is with fucking challenges, which pay absolute dog shit in terms of XP. Now, let me be fair and say, thankfully, 343 has gone ways to rectify this with implementing two updates. The first was adding in XP for completing matches. It was a meager 50 XP for each completed match.
You serious?
To put it in perspective, that's 20 matches without challenges to rank up, which is fucking ridiculous. The second update is actually much better. It gives you more XP for your first 6 completed matches, but then it's back to earning 50 per match. Now, combined with the challenges, and considering the fact that these reset daily, this is much more fair. But it still leaves much to be desired. Now let's get to what everyone's been waiting for. 343's motherfucking oh-so-precious Battle Pass. Now let's take a look at their announcement a few months ago of what the Battle Pass would be like in the final product.
First off is the Battle Pass.
The Halo Battle Pass will never be taken away from you. And what I mean by that is once you buy it, it's yours and does not expire. In future seasons, you can purchase old Battle Passes as well as the current Battle Pass and choose which Battle Pass to put your progression towards.
All of these rewards are single source, so you're never going to be confused about where things come from. If you can unlock something in the Battle Pass, we're not going to let any other players circumvent that by purchasing it out of the storefront.
A lot of our stuff is unlocked through playing the game and only through playing the game.
Right. Did you guys hear that? One more time.
Let's watch my favorite part again, shall we?
All of these rewards are single source, so you're never going to be confused about where things come from. If you can unlock something in the Battle Pass, we're not going to let any other players circumvent that by purchasing it out of the storefront.
A lot of our stuff is unlocked through playing the game and only through playing the game.
You lying motherfuckers. Okay, so the rebuttal here is that it technically wasn't a lie, because he said players couldn't circumvent the Battle Pass using the cosmetic store. What they intentionally neglected to fucking mention is that you can circumvent the grind by purchasing progression towards your Battle Pass with in-game credits. And you can get as technical and cling to whatever semantics you want, but like it or not, it was a fucking lie. Another rebuttal might be, oh, but there's going to be unlocks tied directly to the campaign, which, fair enough. But two things. One, I'd imagine that's going to be the tiniest fraction of unlockable content the game has to offer, especially when you see how much actual content is free in the Battle Pass. It's like barely 30%. And two, be that as it may, these fuckers were talking about the Battle Pass and having to play to unlock customization without circumventing progression. That still counts as being a lie. Only through playing the game, 343? Paying for progression does not constitute playing the fucking game. But hey, why would players need to buy progression anyway, right? I mean, the Battle Pass is fair, is it not? Wrong. Yes, you can unlock items in the Battle Pass for free. Very few items for free. And even fewer that are not simply XP boosts to progress towards more armor you can't unlock without paying for the Battle Pass. And fucking challenge swaps. They are littered all over this fucking thing. Absolutely ridiculous, pointless, useless filler. That's Halo Infinite's Battle Pass unless you pay for it. Now here's the thing. Again, I had no trouble simply purchasing the Battle Pass. A free-to-play multiplayer of this quality, plus I'm a massive Halo fan, I never bought a Battle Pass before ever until Halo Infinite. The community as well wouldn't have had any problems with this. I'm sure everyone would have been totally fine with it if 343 didn't insult us with their insane, disgusting, slimy methodology to suck as much money out of their fans as possible. And furthermore, design their entire progression around encouraging the players to spend as much money as possible to get what they really want from the game's progression and customization. Back to the Battle Pass, why are there so many XP boosts in lieu of actual customization rewards? 3 reasons actually. The first is because there wasn't enough XP offered in matchmaking rewards in the first place. That was only very recently rectified to some extent due to backlash from the community, remember? The second reason, and this is the same for challenge swaps as well, 343 needed filler because they wanted to fill up their battle passes as much as possible with holo rewards that would keep players grinding for exponentially longer to get the rewards they actually want. And 3, the XP boosts were created to give players more progression towards rewards that they actually want to have but cannot unlock without paying for them. In other words, they're just there to encourage players to spend more money. Because all the good shit is locked behind the paywall, remember?
Because this is what it's all about, right? Motherfucking cock-sucking money. Here.
You know, if those XP boosts were actually replaced with actual customization, given how many there are in the Battle Pass, I'm sure players would have been far more fucking forgiving. But 343 doesn't do things that way, because they're a pathetically desperate and greedy company. Only 30% of this Battle Pass is actually free, and a sizable portion of the Battle Pass is this bullshit. In Halo 5, how many shitty-looking helmets and armor sets, along with how many replicas with different paint skins, were shoved into the customization unlock system without any talent or care to decrease the probability of you actually unlocking what you wanted from the rec system? There was fucking dozens of them. And while there's no chance involved in Halo Infinite's unlock system, these challenge swaps and XP boosts are basically lazier versions of the Seeker helmet in Halo 5. They exist just to take up space and add to your grind, while the good shit is locked behind a paywall. That's enough about the XP boosts, but I'm not done with the challenge swaps just yet. I'll come back to them in a moment. As for the lack of multiplayer modes, oh dear. Now, there's only one positive for having just a quick play mode and big team battle as the only available playlist for PvP, that being it funnels the player base and allows for faster matchmaking. True, but this multiplayer design choice is not only insulting as a launch offering for content and matchmaking modes for a Halo game which launched with less modes than the original fucking game back in 2001. Most people are saying 343 made this decision for the early release, and that the true multiplayer offering will release when the campaign launches. I sure as hell hope so, and pray that that is the case, but in actuality, given how they've engineered the game's progression to be a massive unsatisfying grind, I'm actually quite certain that this isn't the case. The reason 343 have done this is simply, once again, to add to the game's progression and grind, since you only progress through challenges, and challenges more often than not are tied to game modes. And since every game mode, aside from BTB, is running on a random cycle under the Quick Play tab, this means that players are going to be forced to play game types that won't add to their progression whatsoever, because as we discussed, performance and teamwork does not matter. And this is why the challenge swaps exist, because if a player gets a challenge that's tied to winning 3 games of oddball or 5 games of capture the flag or whatever, then they're not going to want to waste their time, and they'll use their challenge swap for yet another random challenge, which could be just as tedious. And 343 hopes the player will get fed up, open up their wallet, and just pay to unlock the fucking battle pass, or pay for more challenge swaps. Because remember, paying is apparently playing according to 343. God fucking damn it. It never fucking ends with this company, does it? And their slimy bullshit. And that's not even talking about the challenges, progression, and battle pass that applies to limited time event offerings. Let's talk about the Fracture Tenrai event for a second.
Every season will have its own theme and introduce new components, new looks, new gameplay for players, new opportunities to earn and collect cool rewards. We've seen the Samurai already. That's one of our event armor cores, and that's going to be something that players can earn through gameplay for free.
Yes, you can unlock this armor by playing, because the Fracture Tenrai event has its own progression that doesn't apply to your battle pass. And how do you rank up your Fracture Tenrai progression, you might ask? Challenges, of course, but not just any challenges, specifically allocated challenges that are so scarce, it's like trying to find a needle in a fucking haystack. You can only have 4 active challenges at a time, and once you finish your current challenges that are once again tied to game modes that you have to randomly search for, because they're all lumped together in the same fucking quick play tab, if you want to unlock the Fracture Tenrai challenges, you gotta use your challenge swaps. And what is the majority of customization and unlocks for the Fracture Tenrai event? This is the best part. It's more challenge swaps and XP boosts. Yes, even more filler in their event progressions as well. This is absolutely absurd. And they're telling us we gotta wait weeks until the next availability time for the event so that we can unlock filler, for fuck's sake. And like 10 moderately decent rewards and like only 3 really good ones. What an absolute mindfuck. 343, this isn't what was promised. You can say you used your corporate business talk jargon to tell us this is what we were going to get, but you were anything but transparent about this. I don't care how you dress it up. This is not what was promised. Fuck you. Players can circumvent the grind if they pay you money, which is what you want ultimately, right? It's all about fucking money, right?
Because this is what it's all about, right? Motherfucking cock-sucking money. Here.
Which is why you've designed the grind like this in the first place. And even though the events, as far as I can tell, are play to unlock only, it's still locked behind a grind and it's still very much designed to encourage players. I'd go so far as to even say coerce players into buying your shitty fucking pointless filler challenge swaps so they can maybe unlock a Fracture Tenrai progression challenge, which they still have to complete, by the way. And we haven't even gotten to the price of in-game purchases. Good lord, if players wanted to pay to rank up the battle pass, it's like $10 a level. Each level roughly costs the same as the fucking battle pass itself. A circumvent for progression. And yes, it is a circumvent that shouldn't even be in the fucking game in the first place. The store prices are absolutely fucking absurd. I don't care how free to play your game is. I'm not spending fucking $20 on shoulder pieces. You are out of your mind. The fucking nerve you have. First you lie and then you jack the fuck out of your prices? It's ludicrous. Your company is a collection of warped cunts if you thought that was going to fly. And while the Battle Pass has a lot to offer if you pay for it, 343 have the nerve to lock its progression and infinite customization behind what's called the Armor Core system, completely restricting the customization options for players to mix and match their armor sets. This whole Heroes of Reach season theme that they're pushing, all of the Reach armor pieces that you can unlock can only be used towards the Mark 5B Armor Core. You can't slap any of the Reach armor pieces onto the Mark 7 or the Fracture Tenrai armors, which is fucking stupid. I honestly don't even know what the reason is for this. I want to say it's greed, but given how you would just pay to unlock these all the same by unlocking the premium battle pass and just playing the game, it just seems like a boneheaded decision made by some dumb cunt, which was narcissistically made for the sake of aggravating the player. Fracture Tenrai has about 5 armor pieces in its event, meaning that without being able to mix and match armor sets, every player using it is going to look roughly the fucking same. Jesus Christ, this company is a joke. 6 years, people. We waited 6 years for this shit. And they have the nerve to lie about these shitty business practices? When they could have just been open and honest and trusted that their vast, dedicated community would meet them halfway and just purchase the fucking battle pass? And that's not the only thing I think 343 are lying about. Now, please take this with a huge grain of salt. This is just a theory of mine. But honestly, the content they're keeping from us, for example, Forge and Co-op Campaign, among other things, I personally believe that stuff is already finished and ready to go. The reason I believe this to be the case is because the game was in development for 5 whole years and was set for release in December of 2020. Then thankfully, they delayed the game after the subpar campaign demo, and Halo Infinite was given yet another year of development. Fast forward to late 2021, a whole year later, and then in the lead up to launch, 343 put a gun to Joe Staten's head and were like, yeah, Forge and co-op campaign are delayed. Sorry, peeps, but hey, think of how good Season 2 is gonna be.
Unfortunately, as we focused the team for shutdown and really focused on a quality experience for launch, we made the really tough decision to delay shipping campaign co-op for launch. And we also made the tough call to delay shipping Forge past launch as well.
Talk through a little bit of kind of just the why, like why was this decision?
You know, you and I talk about this a lot, and everybody in the studio has the same conversation, which is, what is our number one priority? Well, our number one priority is making sure that whatever we ship, whenever we ship it, it meets the right quality bar. Across all platforms, Xbox devices, PC in all its different configurations. And when we looked at these two experiences, Campaign Co-op and Forge, we made the determination they're just not ready. And as a studio, we don't want to ship things if they're not ready, so people can play them, have fun, have a nice, stable, performant experience. So we're going to keep Campaign Co-op and Forge in the oven for a little bit longer, and then when they're ready, we're going to release them as part of our seasonal roadmap next year.
I can see the headlines now. Halo Infinite Season 2, the arrival of co-op campaign and Forge. Halo Infinite Season 2, the arrival of what should have been their day one. Matter of fact, I think Forge is actually delayed till Season 3, which is fucking pathetic. 343 have got their heads lodged so far up their ass cracks at this point that they think they can spin the notion of adding stuff in that should have been there day one, but instead they decided to drag it out to later seasons as being worthy of genuine praise. Because they're so out of touch as a corporate entity. Like, do they really expect us to applaud them when they say, Halo community, get ready, medal ranking system and career statistics have arrived? Something that takes virtually no effort to create and implement, and was there day one in every other Halo title. You want applause, 343? You get one finger and it's the middle one. But the larger point I'm trying to make here is if Forge and co-op campaign are getting delayed until 2022, after a whole nother year of development, then what the fuck exactly was meant to be released back at the original launch set for December 2020? And here's the answer. Finished or not finished, Forge and co-op campaign were always meant to be held back, so they could be the headlines for Halo Infinite's upcoming seasons, because 343 didn't have any other content ready that they thought would be worth a fuck to bring players back. And so they're trying to artificially and deceptively drag out the release of their content in the hopes of keeping players on the hook for longer, by dripping it out to you, content that's already finished, but is being willingly held back. 343 should have called the game Halo Dripfinite, which was originally meant to be the title for this video, by the way. If my theory is correct, and I think there's enough evidence to support it as a possibility at least, that and along with the overwhelmingly greedy business practices implemented into Halo Infinite's launch, just adds to the growing, corporatized, and soulless image 343 have made for themselves as a company in recent years. So where do we go from here? Well, the good news is that this is mostly fixable. And if history is anything to go by, backlash inflicts change, and some of the greediest games can reform to something respectable if people speak up. So, Halo community, if you're listening to this, or whoever the fuck, keep letting your voices be heard, and make them backstep on this greedy bullshit. It really is sad, because I'm sure most of us had no problem paying for the Battle Pass in the first place. Halo Infinite is great. It's a free-to-play game of extremely high quality, not to mention, it has a very dedicated and vast community. The Battle Pass was never the problem. It's everything surrounding the Battle Pass that's designed to strong-arm the player into purchasing it. Well, that and also the numerous falsities that 343 spun in their marketing for the game and its progression, 343 needs to add a ranking system pronto. It needs to add in a medals history and statistics pronto. It needs to add in both performance and teamwork rewards pronto. And it needs to tone down its prices and restructure their challenge system and game modes pronto. For everything great in Halo Infinite, there's a catch, and it makes me seriously worry for the campaign. It makes me wonder why 343 only wanted to showcase the first 4 hours of the campaign, and fed it to a bunch of influencers in the Halo community to shout its praises from the mountaintops in the weeks leading up to its launch. This is very reminiscent of Cyberpunk 2077, and it makes me extremely skeptical and worrisome for what they've showcased so far and what they're trying to hide. Because with 343 Industries, there's always a catch. Right, thank you all for checking out this video and putting up with my angry ranting. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on Halo Infinite and your experiences with the game in the comments below. Feel free to check out the rest of my channel, and I've even left a link to my primary channel below. You can join my Discord, I've left a link below if you want to chat to my community about video games and other stuff as well. A special thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting my videos. I've left a link to the Patreon in the description below if you're interested in becoming one. A special thank you to A British Potato for helping me with the audio editing for this video. I've left a link to his channel below. Check him out. He makes great stuff. And finally, here's one last thank you for staying till the end of the video. You are a legend, and I'll see you next time.